What's ridiculous to me about the whole situation is it's not being progressive. You're hurting the community by what you're doing.
Peter Dinklage is at the center of a new Hollywood firestorm, and it involves rumors that Rachel Zegler blames him, at least in part, for Disney's Snow White going down in flames.
It's this weird thing where he's saying, like, oh, it's bad that we're still doing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, so he doesn't necessarily want that. But as little people actors, it's like, well, we kind of want to work. We kind of want that part, and if that's what's available, then that's what we'd like to do.
If you've been following the so-called Snow White collapse, you already know about the controversy, the rewrites, and the alleged panic inside Disney's corridors. But now, in a twist no one saw coming, chatter suggests Zegler herself may be pointing a finger at Dinklage for derailing the entire production.
I was a little taken back by the they're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White.
Yeah.
But you're still telling the story of Snow White, and Seven Dwarfs.
Sure.
So take a step back and look at what you're doing there.
Fans are calling it the biggest blame game in Tinseltown since that one fiasco about CGI mustaches. Meanwhile, Dinkladge, known for speaking his mind about representation, is rumored to be exposing the truth behind the scenes, telling those close to him that this meltdown stems from far more than a few comments about dwarfs. The question is, who's right, who's wrong, and why did this once-hyped live-action remake crash faster than you can say hi-ho? Buckle up, because the rumor mill is spinning so hard, it's practically drilling a hole in the earth.
No, Prince or a different kind of Prince?
I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie.
Right.
Andrew Burnap, great dude.
Yeah.
All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Who the hell are you to say all of Andrew's scenes could get cut? Like, who are you?
Oh my God.
Are you Disney?
According to whispers, the drama started the moment Disney announced they were reimagining Snow White, presumably to weed out any so-called outdated elements from the 1937 classic. Some fans were excited, others not so much. Casting Rachel Zegler as the iconic princess lit the fuse. Then, allegedly, Peter Dinklage poured gasoline on it with his outspoken criticism, basically telling Disney, you're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story about 7 dwarfs living in a cave? What are you doing?
Have I done nothing to advance the cause? From my soapbox, I guess I'm not loud enough. I don't know what studio that is, but they were so proud of that, and all love and respect to the actress and to the people who thought they were doing the right thing. But I'm just like, what are you doing?
That single remark exploded across social media, splitting fans into camps. One side said, yes, Hollywood needs to fix how it portrays dwarfs. Another side said, don't ruin a beloved fairy tale by overcompensating. Disney apparently freaked out, scrambled to rework the entire script, and, depending on who you ask, turned the production into a chaotic mess. Fast forward to the release of the film, which critics dubbed a Snow White disaster, and now rumor has it Zegler privately blames Dinklage for triggering the fiasco, especially since all those last-minute changes allegedly turned the movie into an incoherent slog.
I mean, my biggest thing is he wants to be progressive, and it's all about progression, and I support that completely, but the issue is him being progressive is eliminating 7 potential dream jobs from the dwarf acting community.
So, did the actor best known for his groundbreaking roles really sabotage Snow White with one outspoken interview? Or was the film doomed from the start, mired in heavy-handed modernization, clumsy messaging, and random story changes that left cast and crew totally baffled? Observers say the meltdown had multiple culprits, but that sure hasn't stopped tongues from wagging about a rumored Zegler-Dinklage feud. Meanwhile, some defenders of Rachel are furious that she's being scapegoated as a novice actress who didn't champion the project enough. Others who worship at the House of Dinklage argue that he merely pointed out glaring issues with how dwarfs have historically been depicted, issues that should have been addressed by Disney from day one. The result? We get a swirling vortex of accusations, alleged regrets, and a movie so overshadowed by controversy that no one even remembers if Snow White sang any new songs.
He's saying he wants to move forward and do good for the community. When these are dream jobs. I got hired by WWE. WWE was my dream job since I was 4 years old. Since I was 4 years old, all I wanted to be was a WWE superstar.
Let's rewind for a second. Disney's new Snow White was meant to showcase inclusivity. They cast Zegler, a Latina actress, as the famously pale princess, which already kicked off debate among fans who insisted Snow White's name references her complexion. On top of that, the studio planned to update the story, presumably removing anything deemed old-fashioned, like the dwarfs. Then in came Dinkladge, who said, in essence, "Look, if you're bragging about casting Rachel Zegler for progressive points but still have dwarfs living in a cave, you're back at square one." That comment became the topic of talk shows, tweets, and countless YouTube rants. Some fans passionately supported him, claiming dwarfs have long been portrayed in ways that are borderline mockery. Others insisted Disney's solution, allegedly replacing dwarfs with magical creatures or tokenizing them, would ironically take away roles from little people who want to work. Suddenly, you had a deeper moral quandary overshadowing a simple fairy tale.
King Dwarf thing, I said, and I mean that. Who put this guy in charge, and why is he the single voice, like, for a whole community?
And rumor says the studio short-circuited trying to keep everyone happy. While all this was happening, Rachel Zegler mostly kept quiet in public, fueling speculation that she was either bored by the controversy or bound by a contract that says don't talk. Then came test screenings that lukewarm doesn't even begin to describe. Word leaked that audiences found the tone weirdly split between forced progressiveness and clinging to old Disney whimsy, with no organic blending of the two. The dwarfs, or magical creatures, or whatever, apparently were sidelined or reworked into something unrecognizable. Meanwhile, Zegler's performance was overshadowed by scathing commentary about the script. Insiders whispered that reshoots and re-edits were done at the 11th hour, leaving the film more disjointed than a jigsaw puzzle missing half its pieces. By the time it actually launched, critics hammered it as a misguided attempt to fix what no one asked to be fixed. That's where the rumor about Zegler's frustration with Dinklage picks up steam.
For a whole community of people, I can argue I was on TV for 10 years. I was in film, not at the scale he was, but why because he throws the red flag is everything stopped?
Allegedly, she confided in colleagues that if he hadn't publicly slammed the concept of dwarfs living in a cave, Disney might not have panicked so dramatically. They might have just filmed a standard, albeit more inclusive, retelling. Instead, the entire plot was twisted in reaction to Dinklage's condemnation, leading to frantic rewrites that left the cast uncertain which version of the script they were even filming. Did that chaos cause the final product to flop? Possibly yes, possibly no. Either way, it's easy to see how Zegler, caught in the crossfire of competing visions, might direct her annoyance at the person whose criticisms seem to have the biggest public impact. Of course, fans who stan Dinklage are quick to point out that his remarks about dwarfs in Snow White were valid, calling out potential stereotypes. Some say if Disney truly listened to him from the start, rather than half listening, maybe the final portrayal of the dwarfs could have been tasteful and imaginative, preserving the story's charm while avoiding offensive tropes. Instead, the argument goes, Disney freaked out and overcorrected, effectively removing dwarfs or rebranding them in ways that made no one happy.
Disney, I know 6 dwarf actors with myself that would love these roles. I'll play Sleepy or Grumpy or whoever.
This fiasco overshadowed anything good the movie might have offered, including Zegler's singing talent or any fresh angle on Snow White's journey. From that perspective, blaming Dinklage alone feels like scapegoating. If the studio had a strong plan from day one, a single external critique might not have derailed the entire production. But it did, proving the plan was never solid to begin with. Meanwhile, folks who defend Rachel Zegler also get trashed online. They point out that she was a relatively new star thrust into the spotlight, saddled with a beloved fairy tale that was changing day by day. They argue it's not her fault if executives panicked over dwarfs after Dinklage's critiques. She was just the face of the film, forced to promote a story that was unraveling behind the curtain. Yet, that same newly minted stardom might have left her with minimal power to object or fight for a more cohesive script. So, from her vantage point, she could easily see Dinklage's widely publicized commentary as the direct catalyst for all those ill-considered rewrites.
Did the dwarfs make it or no?
Well, the CGI dwarfs did. Of course, that goes back to the original controversy where Peter Dinklage, a very talented little person actor, said, "Why are we doing that? We've hired a Latina actress to be Snow White. That's progressive. But you're going to hire little people to play the dwarfs? That just seems like a step backwards." And then, of course, Disney instantly buckled and said, "Okay, we're going to add magical creatures."
Fans on Twitter say it's like blaming the weatherman for the hurricane, but frustration rarely follows perfect logic. Now, about Peter Dinklage exposing the truth. People close to him say he stands by his statements about dwarfs in mainstream media. He's never shied away from calling out stereotypes. But the rumor is that privately, he's telling associates that the meltdown was a direct result of Disney's knee-jerk reaction, not anything he demanded. He never insisted on scrapping dwarfs altogether. He simply urged them not to treat dwarfs like comedic punchlines. That's a subtle distinction that might have been lost in corporate translation. So, if Dinklage is indeed sharing behind-the-scenes insights, he might be clarifying that the fiasco was Disney's own doing, not his personal crusade. Did he sabotage Snow White? He'd allegedly say absolutely not. He just pointed out an issue that needed addressing, and the studio bungled it from there. In that sense, exposing the truth means underlining how a big entity like Disney can self-destruct under pressure, especially when sensitive topics like representation become PR flashpoints. But hold on, fans are crying. What about the entire rest of the film's problems? Let's not pretend the only glitch was how dwarfs were handled. Test audiences allegedly found the pacing off, the romance non-existent, and the heavy-handed modern lessons out of place. Even if dwarfs were done perfectly, some watchers think the adaptation would have bombed anyway.
There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion, but the reality is she's just not stable, like the majority of people in Hollywood. They're just not stable human beings.
If that's the case, blaming Dinklage is missing the forest for the lack of dwarfs. Then again, in Hollywood fiascos, it's typical for cast and crew to look for a single smoking gun. And so, the meltdown story remains complicated. Some see Dinklage as a hero, cautioning the industry not to trivialize dwarfs for easy laughs. Others see him as a meddling voice that forced Disney to overreact, messing up a classic. Meanwhile, Zegler stands in the crossfire, allegedly whispering, or fuming, that Dinklage's critique is what sparked a chain reaction that destroyed her star vehicle. The whole meltdown has overshadowed everything from costume designs to potential box office predictions. Even if the film had a few decent elements, and rumor says the sets were visually stunning, almost no one remembers them now. They remember the fiasco, the rewriting, and this rumored blame game. The show's over, the critics have spoken, the film's DVD, if it even gets one, will likely gather dust. The meltdown stands as a cautionary tale about how a beloved fairy tale can become a corporate train wreck when trying too hard to be modern. What happens next? Disney might attempt a second Snow White adaptation to fix what went wrong, possibly casting a new lead and reintroducing dwarfs in a more tactful way.
If you tell the story of Snow White,
Yeah.
with its most f***ed up, cool, progressive spin on it, let's do it.
Yeah.
All in.
Fans float Jenna Ortega's name around as a sure bet to redeem the entire brand with her comedic timing and emotional range. If that happens, watch the current fiasco fade to a footnote. As for Rachel Zegler, she's presumably forging ahead, picking new projects. But the ghost of Snow White might linger around her for a while, at least in the gossip columns. Dinklage, for his part, will keep championing representation, unbothered by the meltdown, unless more rumors surface that he's personally orchestrated Hollywood fiascos from behind a velvet curtain. Ultimately, nobody emerges unscathed from this fiasco. Disney took a brand hit, fans are disappointed, dwarfs are ironically jobless in the adaptation, and Rachel Zegler's stardom got dinged by an avalanche of negative press. If the Zegler blames Dinklage rumor is legit, it's probably just one more testament to how messy big-budget remakes can become when rushed rewrites collide with heightened social awareness. Could this meltdown have been avoided? Possibly, if the creative team had stuck to a coherent plan, listened to criticisms more calmly, and balanced modernization with respect for the source. But it's too late now. The meltdown is part of Hollywood lore, a meltdown so extensive that even the dwarfs, magical creatures, couldn't shovel all the debris away. So how do you feel about the alleged Zegler versus Dinklage blame game? Do you think her frustration is fair, or is she just searching for a scapegoat in a project that was flawed to begin with? Drop your hottest takes in the comments below. I'm braced for the sparks. If you enjoyed dissecting this meltdown as much as I did, give that like button a friendly poke, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell. Seriously, your thumbs up is like a dwarf's pickaxe, helping unearth more juicy Hollywood drama from the rumor mines. And hey, the next video on your screen is about to spill even more celebrity secrets you won't want to miss. Click now, before the dwarfs or magical creatures whisk it away.